Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I got started off camera on this 6-liter. Previous owner said it needed a water pump and a radiator. To be fair, gave us the water pump. I purchased a XDP extra cool radiator. So far, looks good. So as you guys can see here, let me close this door. As you guys can see, to get to the water pump on a 6-liter, fan shroud, fan comes off. This 6-liter did not have the inner shroud. It's like an enhancer for the fan. I took the intake off just because I wanted to see the turbo. It is some kind of an upgraded unit. If you guys look right there. But I took the water pump off and guess, not the freaking water pump. So it is what it is. I wanted the King Ranch. There's the coolant that came out of it. You guys see all that nice oil in there. So before I just rip the cab off of this thing, because it is studded. If you look right there, you can actually see one of the head studs there. It is studded, and I do trust that it is studded. We are going to try an oil cooler. So in order to do an oil cooler on one of these, we are going to have to pull the alternator off, intercooler pipe off. We're also going to have to remove the turbo as well to get the intake manifold off. Luckily for us guys, the coolant has already been drained. There's where the water pump goes right there. And I did check the front cover. Brandon recommended looking for cavitation. I found none. So we are just going to tackle the oil cooler. Like I said, all this stuff pretty much up here comes off. To replace the oil cooler, we are going to put new intake manifold gaskets on since we are in there. And then I have one of the OEM Ford Motorcraft oil cooler kits here. So it comes with a new oil cooler, all of our gaskets, a new screen here, as well as when all this is put back together, I'll change the oil and put fresh coolant in it. In order to clean this out, I'm gonna just fill it with water and purple power, let it run for a little bit, drain that out, probably do that a couple of times until we get a majority of the oil out. From there, I hope to have put coolant in it and maybe go drive this thing. For reference, this is a 03, so it's a different style H-pop and stuff, and the oil cooler is a little different on the 03s, but for reference, this is where we're trying to get to. This is the oil cooler cavity in the block. The oil filter housing and fuel filter housing are all mounted right here. So this is the donut gasket for your intake manifold. So the intake manifold kind of covers this. So unfortunately, we're gonna pull the intake manifold off as well. But this is kind of a nice heads up view of what we're about to partake. This truck here is in for, shocker, head gaskets. But if you look right here, this is our, obviously we haven't cleaned anything yet, but this is the assembly we have to remove here. This is your oil filter assembly as well as your oil cooler assembly here. Pretty self-explanatory, just a bunch of 10 mil bolts. And that is what we're going to tackle. So I'm gonna do my best to get you guys in a decent spot to see, but I took this apart on one of our 4-post lifts because in my head I was like, oh, this is gonna be cakewalk, right? No, not a cakewalk. Okay guys, 36 minutes later, we got it out. There was a bunch of plastic in the oil cooler valley. The screen was okay, but yeah, check this out. The oil filter. Brandon, what'd you call this? What's this called? Yeah, this plastic thingamajigger here for the oil filter completely melted. So I'm wondering if that was causing some of the hard start, as well as coolant being in the oil and everything else. But now Brandon is going to help me take this apart so we can clean everything up and change the oil cooler, get it all put there. I will vacuum suck the junk out of there. Got this pretty cool tool from Harbor Freight. Give it a shot, and then I guess give it a brake cleaner bath down here to get her all freshened up. But all in all, not too bad. Here's our new sucker tool. It is the pneumatic air operated fluid extractor. Wow. What do you have to say about this, Brandon?
I can't wait to put it to use.
Yeah, so we will use this to suck the valley out. Basically, you hook up some fittings to it and air, and the shop air creates like a suction. That suction then sucks up all the fluid. So you just put whatever attachment you want right here, you push it into here and hook up your airline, creates like a venturi, sucks the junk out. All right, sorry about that, guys. We had a customer walk in and he was picking up a truck, but Brandon's been working on separating the oil filter and oil cooler assembly. So he's supporting this and tapping the oil cooler out.
Ready to get clean.
I'll be honest, guys, Baron did all this for me last time. Brandon's doing it for me this time. Really setting myself up for failure. But now we can throw all these parts in the parts washer. And God, dude, how does this even happen? If any of you Powerstroke guys have ever seen this happen, let me know. What's your guess, Brandon? You ever seen one that bad?
Not that hot.
Yeah, and for everybody that keeps giving Brandon a hard time for always standing around, number one, this is my truck and he offered to help. Number two, Brandon, you get paid by the job, don't you?
Exactly.
So if a job takes 5 hours, but you do it in 2, you get paid for 5. If you do it in 10, you get paid for 4. So, guys, I appreciate all of you looking out for me in the side there, but Brandon gets work done. No comebacks. So, pretty simple, guys. You hook up your air, open sesame. We got some suction there. Oh. I guess we'll shut that. Brandon's telling us to come here. What? Am I gonna need more parts? What is that?
Part of that return tube.
Oh my God. So what would this affect, Brandon?
I mean, theoretically, it's gonna make your oil hotter.
You're such a mechanic. You know that? Oh my goodness. All right, guys. So we're gonna kick this sucker on. Literally, sucker. Get it? Let's see if this money Brandon made me spend's worth it. Well, I mean, she's sucking. Got to talking to somebody, and I probably let this run for about 5 minutes, and you guys can see how fast it's sucking this area down. So I'm gonna be honest, this is one of those tools I think it might be worth buying. I just went to town with brake cleaner, and the suction got all the melted plastic out of that cavity there, and then I like to make it look like I've been in here recently, so I went ahead and just kind of gave her the old brake clean overhaul down here, and now we're just waiting for our parts that are in the parts washer, and then we'll be ready to go. You don't have a parts washer and your wife has a electric dryer outlet in your garage, I'm gonna 10 out of 10 you get one of these. What do you think, Brandon? Nice and pretty. So we got everything kind of cleaned up. Now we can put it back together. All right, so Brandon's got to go. We got this put back together, learned a little bit in the process, and now I'm going to stick this back into the truck with a fresh screen. All right, guys, and there's the old screen. Big thank you to Brandon. He had to take off. Here's our fresh screen here. Goes right in here. And now I will set the oil cooler back in. Okay, oil cooler assembly is now installed. One thing I do know from head gasket jobs, you guys want to replace this donut gasket. It does have a tendency to leak when you least want it to, so we will be doing that as well with our intakes. I've never experienced this because I've just always taken people at their word, but what I've been told is if you do not replace these intake gaskets every time you have the intake off, apparently you have a pretty substantial boost leak. So we're gonna put these small ones in and get everything sealed back up on the intake. I have to let the parts washer run a little bit longer on some of those parts, like the intercooler pipe and stuff. But this is currently where she sits. Again, like I said, brake cleaned everything out. Just kind of, especially on like 6-liter stuff, I just feel like there's so much wish-wash on things. What I always do when I work on one is I make sure it looks like I've been in there. Like, stuff is cleaner than when we started, the valley's dry. Like, that is important to me because I just feel like there's so much. Like, I've heard of guys thinking they got a studded motor and they just did the outsides and stuff. So I just try to make it look like somebody was definitely in there working on it. This truck also did not have the turbo bolts. It had the rear one back there, but it did not have the two front ones. So we will replace those while we're in here as well. And here's a little closer up on the turbo. So AVP is stamped on here. It does have a billet compressor wheel as well as a polished cover. I'm not sure what turbine is in it. Let's see if we can see. Judging by the exhaust, I'm going to say not the loud one, but I could be wrong. Let's take a look. How many? 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 blade turbine. So not the super loud one, but we'll let that slide for right now. I have the intercooler pipe all cleaned up. I just used a little Scotch-Brite You didn't have to do that, but I just chose to. We also have our plastic intercooler pipe. If you guys are new to 6.0s and you feel like you have a huge boost leak, check these. They like to crack, especially on the seam. This one does look okay, so we'll run it for right now. And then we have our intake manifold here on the old 6.0. I tell you what, these are pretty impressive factory intake manifolds. Like, I know they're 6 liters, blah, 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 I get it, but like, I don't know, there's just, these things are impressive. Like how they flow and stuff. Oh my God, somebody's reused the intake manifold gaskets as apparent by the RTV. So I will get all this cleaned off here. Oh my God. Well, it shouldn't be like that. It should just be regular, but it looks like somebody tried to reuse those, so it is what it is. But now, the only other thing is we want to make sure you guys could see how they RTV'd this in last time. We want to make sure we get all that RTV off so the new O-ring actually seals on the J-pipe. And just looking at this thing and how grimy it is, I think I'm going to let it go in the parts washer for a little bit longer. And if this turns into a 2-day job, it turns into a 2-day job. So next day, obviously, we have the intake bolted back down with fresh intake manifold gaskets. We have a new check valve down here, this little black thing right here, and then a new filter return standpipe, I believe is what it's called. That really rounds out the new parts or replacement parts. So if you guys look at how big this is, it had melted this entire standpipe down into the oil cooler. So from here, I'm going to throw the put that ground back on first and foremost, that ground right there, and then put the turbo back on, get the up pipe, down pipe refastened to the turbo, actually put bolts to hold the turbo in, and then kind of work our way forward here. I got to put some of the injector harnesses back in, but making good progress, and all in all, I'm very happy. Hopefully we should hear this thing fire up. The only other thing I am going to do is change from the Wix cap to the Motorcraft cap here. So we have the Motorcraft oil filter cap here, and then one of the Motorcraft oil filters as well. Fought getting this radiator out. Those tranny lines were pretty stubborn, but we got our radiator out. I'm not 100% sold this radiator was totally bad, but I do see a lot of coolant staining around the tube fins. Here's our brand new one. Just make sure that the bottom has the 2-inch if you have a 2-inch radiator. I'm not quite sure what the differentiation is there, but according to my research, you could have either or. This does have the 2-inch, so I'm gonna get this tossed in. I'm gonna level with you. 6 liter might not be the deal I had bargained for when I talked to the guy that sold it to me, which I'm not gonna put out his name. It does me no good. Like, I own it now. Needed a water pump and a radiator. He had the water pump. I was like, oh, cool. You know, radiator ain't too bad. Pulled the, went to go drain the coolant. As you guys saw, the oil in the coolant. I'm like, all right, okay. Let's do an oil cooler. Not bad, you know, it's a job, but cool. Then we found the RTV all over the intake manifold. We have found quite a few broken things, which, I mean, the clips and the harness, like, okay, whatever. Then I went to go pull the thermostat so we could run purple power and water in this thing. And guess what's not there? If you guessed the thermostat, you'd be correct. So not only did this thing overheat to the point that the oil melted the plastic filter stand and get sucked in the oil cooler and plug it, but they also pulled the thermostat out. They gave me the wrong water pump. So this thing has turned into a nightmare. Currently, it is sitting there draining. I got the oil draining. I got everything back together, turbo, water pump, all that stuff. Now, to be fair, the truck is studded, at least on one valve cover. I pulled one valve cover off because after I went through all this, I was like, man, is this like the worst deal ever? But it is studded. It's got a couple other things that I'm sure you guys saw done to it. So I'm hoping that we can turn this project around, and maybe when it overheated, they pulled the thermostat out. I don't know. I'm really hoping that some fresh oil with an oil cooler that works with all the check valves to stop the oil from bleeding back, that it'll start better, run better. But I'm not sold on it yet. I'm gonna get some oil thrown in this thing. I'm not gonna use good oil. I'm gonna put Rotella in it and just spike it with hot shots, because if this thing ends up needing head gaskets, it's not gonna matter anyway. Fill the cooling system up with Purple Power and water. We'll let it run a few times, drain it, run, drain it, run, drain it, and put coolant in it. Actually, I'll probably put water in it and see if it like blows water everywhere. And then I guess if it doesn't, we'll get a thermostat, but that's kind of where we're at. Hit it with a little bit of the forbidden 1540 Hot Shot Secret. Kind of got it all put back together. The intake's not bolted on, but everything's hooked up, and let's see how horrible we did. All right, you guys are gonna come with me on this journey here. Once I can find the keys to this unit. Oh, right here. All right. We did have everything unhooked, so I expect this to crank pretty slow, but we do already have fuel pressure. Alright, so that little bit of pop you heard was probably the remnants of brake cleaner in the intake track. So let's try this again. Pretty sure at this point the glow plugs are not doing anything. Alright, so clearly we need a little bit of starting fluid. I just want to say, if you guys are going to use starting fluid on a 6 liter, spray it on the filter and then let the glow plug cycle and then crank it. Do not crank it while the glow plugs are on, or you'll get a big boom. Come to find out. That's about all it took last time. Get it in here. We might be dealing with some weak injectors, which no big deal. Let's see. Wow, sounds a lot better. Oh, we got our Purple Power and our garden hose. That smoke's not making me feel good. Now we're just gonna let it run with that solution in there, and you know, see what we can find, guys. At this point, I'm kind of sold the cab's gonna have to come off. You guys ever go on test drives late at night? No one to come get you if this goes horribly wrong? I do. Driving a 6.0, I'm pretty sure this windshield is tinted. But the good news is the transmission appears to be shifting, and just like my mega cab, the steering wheel does need to be clocked. I appreciate whoever chimed in on that. That was extremely insightful. But basically I just gotta try and let this purple power and water do its job. And then obviously we are gonna safely drain this. And then I guess see how it does. So far, so good. It does have a Fickum tune in it, which I'm told is why it runs so aggressively, but I don't know. I can't really get in it. I don't have the intercooler pipe secured, so this is all we're gonna get. Kind of like the choppy idle, honestly. Kind of a fan. Oh my God. Yeah, I'd say those head gaskets are fried. No matter what we did, pressurized the cap. So these gaskets are blown. Dang, who would have thought that could happen? Wow, have the turns tabled. So, with that being said, I don't know when we're gonna hop back on this, but I'm gonna hop on the old interwebs and get a set of head gaskets and I guess an H-pop coming and an IPR. Because if we're gonna pull the cab, we might as well do all that. Oh boy, boy. Man, what a real kick in the knackers, you know? It is what it is, I guess, but I just really wanted to drive it. Like, I don't know, like part of me is like, man, if I could have gotten like a month before it blew the gaskets, or if they weren't blown that bad. I mean, this thing instantly builds coolant pressure with no thermostat. So, well, guys, I guess, dang, I am soaking wet and kind of defeated. I mean, I get it. We bought a used vehicle with a lot of miles on it, but that's what you get for trusting people, I guess. So we will, I guess, pull the cab, pull the gaskets, or heads. I'm not even gonna worry about getting these heads machined. It's pointless. We'll put our fleece heads on, get a gasket set, IPR, H-pop. We already did the oil cooler, so that's a bonus. We don't have to open up the oil cooler pocket. Yay us. But yeah, kind of sucks, a little bit of a bummer, but you know, again, we rolled the dice, and that thermostat, had I see, that's the thing though, you go buy these used trucks, like, was I really gonna pull the coolant hose off to check for a thermostat? Probably not. So, oh well. The nice part is we will have a re-bulletproofed 6 liter. And yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen, like, for instance, one of these two 6 liter trucks here actually had already been bulletproofed, but they used like the crappy gaskets. So maybe that's all it was. Maybe they just used the crappy gaskets, but we got this 6 liter with the cab up. It's getting an H-pop, IPR, gaskets, studs, and this one actually is getting new heads. We took the heads to the machine shop and they were shot. So this one's getting new heads. And then this one, Brandon and I just got a part today. This one, we're probably going to reuse his studs. They looked okay, but it's got the old crappy gaskets on it. And I guess Ford did this gasket job is what I heard. And I guess Ford has been, like, apparently Ford used to just put new gaskets on and send them out the door. So I don't know if that's true or not, but this one did blow. This one is also going to get an oil cooler, an H-pop, an IPR. These are all things the customers elected to do. So that's here. And then you guys will never guess, another 6-liter in for injectors, FICM, H-pop with the updated STC fitting, dummy plugs, standpipes, injectors. I'm not sure if I said that. And then last, but certainly not least, we have a 48RE trans in here. I'm not sure if I covered this one yet, but it's getting the Sonics 35 spline. Well, everything showed up minus, I forget what I'm waiting on this, but anyway, the parts will be here Monday or Tuesday, and we'll get this one wrapped up. So, I don't know. I guess all you 6.0 haters will probably laugh. All the 6.0 lovers will feel my pain. Anyway, guys, like this one. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if you've ever been burned on a used truck sale. Subscribe if you're not already, guys. And as always, I'll catch y'all on the next one.